Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the playoffs. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, a podcast where you don't have to be Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. It's time to put 14 teams on the power rankings. Oh God, am I turning into Perna? Grossi, and today we are going to be ranking all 14 teams heading into the super wild card weekend. And listen, week 18 was pretty darn crazy. Massive upsets, of course. You had teams punching their tickets, seeding decided, even all the way up to Sunday Night Football, in which the Bills claimed the 2 seed in the AFC. And now, with the 14 teams remaining, it's time to rank them. And so starting off at number 14, you got the Pittsburgh Steelers. And listen, I know 14, people might be a little bit upset about that. But listen, Steelers, the fact that we even made it here is pretty darn crazy. And I know Steelers go to the Super Bowl forever and for always. But the reason why I have the Steelers so far down on the list is because of one reason and one reason only. And that's because TJ Watt got injured, because that team is just insane when they go up against another AFC North team. So if you are the Ravens or the Browns, you want nothing to do with the Steelers, because for some reason, the AFC North, they just beat the ever-living crap out of one another. And the Steelers, they punched their ticket. They won on Saturday against the Ravens backups. And then, of course, the Jaguars lost, which allowed them to get into the postseason. And the Steelers, they haven't had the best season this year. They don't have the best record, but they're still in the dance, and they could cause some problems as they're going to be taking on the Buffalo Bills. And this team has been definitely different ever since Mason Rudolph has taken over for Kenny Pickett. And coaches, yeah, I bet that was a tough conversation explaining to Kenny Pickett why he was no longer the starter.
You may suck. Who you are on a fundamental, sort of unchangeable level may just be uninteresting and unwatchable and useless.
And at the end of the day, they're in the dance, and that's all that matters. I just think that offense, while they can have some explosive plays with Rudolph and, of course, Deontay Johnson and George Pickens, I just think that defense has suffered a tremendous loss losing TJ Watt, and I think it's going to be tough going against some of these really great teams in the AFC that are not in their division. Now, I still think they could beat the Bills, because the Bills, they aren't looking like world enders themselves, but right now, most important thing is that the Steelers, they're currently in the postseason, and we'll see if they can go all the way to the Super Bowl. Number 13. Yeah, this is a big yikes. You got the Philadelphia Eagles. Am I being harsh? Honestly, I don't think so, because the Philadelphia Eagles, they beat the Chiefs. They beat the Bills. But since then...
this looks neat. I wonder...
Yeah, they're just free-falling now, because they've lost their last 5 of 6 games, and it has not been against great teams. Of course, yeah, they got blown out by the 49ers and the Cowboys, but they also lost to the Cardinals. They lost to the Giants, and things are just looking rough in Philadelphia. You could blame coaching, you could blame coordinators, you could blame players, but at the end of the day, they basically got a few days to figure it the F out, because it is problematic right now. The offense isn't looking great, the defense is not looking good, and of course, everyone's going to blame Matt Patricia, and honestly, I applaud them for it. But at the end of the day, they're going to be taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Monday night, a very winnable game for Philadelphia, and they just have to win 3 games, and they're back in the Super Bowl. But I think a lot of people, including myself right now, think it's going to be a very tough road to get there, and they might be one and done. But right now, Philly, you made it all the way to the playoffs. Now let's see if you can pull some magic out of your hat. Number 12, that's an ironic number. You got the Green Bay mother-loving Packers. That's right, baby. The Packers punched their ticket into the postseason by defeating the Chicago Bears this past Sunday. And, ooh, Jordan Love finishing second in terms of TDs this year. And good God, this offense is looking good. They weren't perfect on Sunday by any stretch, but Aaron Jones running real well. Jordan Love playing near flawless football. And we have to give credit where credit is due. Joe Barry and that defense has been looking pretty good the past 2 weeks. Now, I'm not going to crown the Packers, and I argued about putting them a little bit higher on this list because I think they can be a very dangerous team in an overall weak NFC. However, the consistency for the defense is a little bit concerning for me. The Packers are beat up right now. Hopefully, they will get a returning Christian Watson, potentially A.J. Dillon back as well. But right now, the Packers, they are going to be heading to Dallas in the playoffs.
Can't put me finger on what lies in store. But I feel what's to happen. All happened before.
A little bit of deja vu. And listen, the Packers, I love this matchup. I think they match up pretty well against the Cowboys. But the most important thing, the Packers are playing with house money. Regardless of what has happened, the Packers are the youngest team in the NFL, and they somehow, some way, clawed their way into punching their ticket, and now they're going to Arlington. And so right now, I am loving what I'm seeing from the Packers. They definitely are not the best team in the NFC, but they are one of the most dangerous and maybe one of the biggest underdogs heading into this postseason. Whether you want to admit it or not, I think Dallas fans have a little bit of a reason to be nervous. Number 11, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs clinched their division for the 3rd year in a row, and they didn't even need Tom Brady.
And who didn't believe I could do it? Who doubted me? Who amongst us does not belong? Someone here does not belong.
But what an ugly game against the Carolina Panthers. The offense didn't look good. The defense, well, that looks pretty good, but it's against the Panthers, Tom said, knowing that Joe Barry allowed Bryce Young to look amazing. But the Buccaneers, they won their division, they get a home game, and they're taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, who, as we just talked about, are struggling massively. Baker Mayfield has had a really, really nice season, and maybe is going to be the future in Tampa, or at least the short-term future. That defense, while it can be streaky, does have some playmakers on it, and I know that Todd Bowles' seat has been a little bit warm all year, but listen, you made the postseason, Tampa Bay. Let's see if you can get a win against the Philadelphia Eagles, something that you were able to do a couple years ago when you did have Tom Brady. And at the end of the day, the Buccaneers are in a very similar position as the Packers. They're playing with house money. A lot of people did not expect them to do well, and they won their division. So, hey, let's see how far they can go. Number 10, you got another team from Florida. You got the Miami Dolphins. And Dolphins fans, yes, you're in the playoffs, even though their fans may think they're already eliminated after those 2 really tough losses.
Nah, we're all right then. I'll prove it.
The Dolphins losing to the Buffalo Bills on Sunday night at home, and it was just an ugly game. The Dolphins had opportunities to win that football game, but costly turnovers, and on top of that, just stacking injuries to this Miami team has really been their downfall. And this Saturday, they're going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, and it is going to be freaking fracking cold. But it's going to be the Tyreek Hill return game to Arrowhead. I think it's going to be a very electric atmosphere. And right now for the Dolphins, I think everything is stacked against them. Of course, they lost Bradley Chubb, but on the offensive side of the ball, it looks like they're just not consistent with their play calling. Besides the turnovers, they're abandoning the run, even when guys like Achane and Wilson are running well. And it's just leaving me scratching my head. And so the Dolphins, who have been on a tear all freaking year, except against teams over 500, they have an opportunity to prove a lot of haters wrong, go into Arrowhead and get a big win over Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I just think that's going to be really difficult to do. And right now, for me, the Dolphins, they're at number 10 because of the amount of talent that they have on that squad. It's just going to be a matter of utilizing it correctly. So will they be able to do it? We'll find out on Saturday night. Number 9, you got the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs, they were able to clinch their division a couple weeks back, and now they are hosting a playoff game, and they have a returning Tyreek Hill to Arrowhead. And I have to imagine that they hope that they can keep him if they beat the Dolphins. And the Chiefs, listen, it has not been the easiest road to get to where they are, even to winning that division this year, because it has been rough. Travis Kelce seems to have his best games only when Taylor Swift shows up.
I only exist within the warmth of your gaze.
Even though for a while, I'm pretty sure people thought that she was a curse. But either way, this is a very different Chiefs team this year. Their defense is very, very good. Their offense is a bit lacking. Rashee Rice has definitely been their wide receiver one, and Travis Kelce, when he's able to produce, is doing okay. It's just not to the level that we're used to. Now, that doesn't matter because there's a lot of experience, of course, with Patrick Mahomes, Kelce, and Andy Reid on that Kansas City team, so they can definitely make a run, and playing at home against the Dolphins, a warm weather team, is definitely going to be a good first start. However, when these two teams met earlier, it was a close game, and we'll see if it's going to be one again on Saturday night. But Chiefs, you're at number 9. Number 8, you got the Houston Texans, otherwise known as the Strouds, punching their ticket into the postseason by defeating the Indianapolis Colts on Saturday night. And with the Jaguars losing, they clinch the AFC South, meaning that they are going to be hosting a playoff game. And this is a team that's similar to the Buccaneers and the Packers when it comes to expectations, because expectations were relatively low. Of course, you get CJ Stroud, which right off the bat, there was a ton of controversy. Was he the guy? Would they have gotten Bryce Young? But that has been put to rest because CJ Stroud is that guy, the front runner for Offensive Rookie of the Year. And while, of course, they did struggle at times with the Colts, and the Colts could have definitely won that game, this team has just been damn good this year. CJ Stroud and Nico Collins has been grilling up defenses.
I can see what they're doing, what he's doing. I can see it, I feel it. He's cooking.
And this is all without Tank Dell. That offense can be really explosive. Their defense also has spurts in which they're pretty damn good. And this game, the atmosphere, it's going to be crazy in Houston. However, it is not going to be easy because they're going to be taking on the Cleveland Browns. Now, it's a good thing they are at home. However, it is going to be a challenge trying to defeat Joe Flacco and, again, that defense. But if there's any kid who could do it, I believe in CJ Stroud. The Texans, they're rolling right now, and that's why they're at number 8. Number 7, you got another team that's rolling. You got the LA Rams. Another team. Where the hell did the Rams come from? Myself included, thought that this team was not going to be good. They're in a rebuild year. Nope. Matthew Stafford. He's coming home to Detroit.
And you can tell him, Daddy's back.
And what a game that is going to be. The Rams, they've been playing really damn well. Of course, Puka Nacua, just a sensational rookie year, going toe-to-toe with CJ Stroud for that Offensive Rookie of the Year battle. And this team, this offense, is looking great. Of course, you have Kyron Williams, you have Cooper Kupp, you have Puka. They have all the weapons there. The offensive line is definitely improved from what we saw last year. And that defense, hell, still pretty darn good. And the challenge that they face on Sunday night is going to be incredible because Ford Field, I cannot imagine that atmosphere. And for Matthew Stafford, it is going to be emotional as hell. However, I think there's definitely an opportunity for Stafford to take advantage of that Lions secondary, and I think it's going to potentially be a shootout on Sunday night. And either way, I will be seated for it, and I can't frickin' wait. Number 6, a touch above the Rams. You got the Detroit Lions holding it down, and the Lions, they are going to be hosting Matthew Stafford for their first playoff game in 30 years.
Is this real life?
Yeah, this is real life.
Crazy times we're living in. It is going to be the first playoff game ever at Ford Field, and of course, Matthew Stafford is going to be there. The Lions, they decided to play their starters against the Minnesota Vikings, and I argued about putting them higher, but unfortunately with Sam Laporta injured, and I know there's some optimism that maybe he could have a quick turnaround, that's a big loss. Of course, the Lions offense has a ton of weapons. You still have St. Brown, you have Gibbs, you have Montgomery, all the weapons. The defense, though, besides the defensive line, that's where my concern lies. Their secondary does give me some pause because they can allow Stafford to tear them up. But either way, I think this is going to be a phenomenal game. I think that home field advantage is going to be insane on Sunday night, and that's going to give the Lions a much-needed boost to go against their former quarterback. And either way, Lions, the fact that you did what you set out to do, you won the North, you punched your ticket, and now you're hosting a playoff game, let's see how far you can go. Number 5, you got the Buffalo Bills, dropping down a little bit from last week, but still remaining in the top 5. And the Bills, their miraculous season has been incredible. A team that lost week 1 to the Aaron Rodgers-less Jets, and they struggled all year, have bounced back, and not only did they win the AFC East, but now they're the number 2 seed in the entire conference.
Sorry.
Now, they did beat the Dolphins on Sunday night, and it wasn't the prettiest of games because, of course, there was those turnovers, which are just so damn frustrating to watch. Josh Allen is playing through an injury right now, and the Bills just frustrate me because they are a really good football team. It just depends on what Bills team actually shows up. Is it the team that's going to rely on James Cook, who has proven to be a phenomenal back this year, whether it's with the ground game or him as a receiver? Really good. Gabe Davis, Khalil Shakir, Stephon Diggs, they have the weapons there. It's just a matter of, can Josh Allen limit his turnovers and can the defense contain whatever offense is facing them? They are going to be playing the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday, and I think this is a really good matchup for the Bills. Getting that home field advantage for at least the first 2 games is really big because I don't think any team necessarily wants to go to play in Buffalo. And while I did rank the Steelers at 14, they are not going to be pushovers here. And so the Bills, they got to be careful. But right now, I got a lot of faith in them. I think they'll be able to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. And from there, we'll see if Buffalo can go all the way this time. Number 4, you got the Dallas Cowboys. And hey, I got to give it to you. You won the East. And I imagine the Cowboys, they got a special greeting for the Eagles after winning that division.
Congratulations. Oh, come here, Cody. You deserve it, man. I hope you die.
But the Cowboys, they've had an up and down season too, similar to the Dolphins. They had all these narratives against them that they couldn't beat teams over 500. And while they have struggled against teams like the 49ers, listen, they made it to the dance and they are the number 2 seed in the NFC. And that is huge for them. Besides Baltimore, I think that's the biggest home field advantage you could possibly have in the playoffs, being able to play in Arlington, because the Cowboys this season are undefeated at home. And while there are some problematic turnovers and the consistency can be an issue, there are some studs on that team, both on the offense and the defensive side of the ball. CeeDee Lamb has had an amazing year. Dak Prescott, amazing season. And of course, you have Micah Parsons over on the other side getting after the quarterback. And the Packers, they are going to have their hands full trying to contend with that. While the Cowboys probably are not very happy about seeing the Packers again, this is a very winnable game for Dallas, in a game where the Packers, they have nothing to lose. The Cowboys, they have everything to lose. You just got to hope that Mike McCarthy's time management and coaching doesn't come back to bite them, and your run defense is able to stop Aaron Jones. But either way, the Cowboys, they're the number 2 seed, and if they wind up beating the Packers, who knows? Maybe they'll be seeing the Lions again in the divisional round. Number 3, you got the Cleveland Browns. Oh, what a season for the Browns. Stefanski, potentially the coach of the year, going up against D'Amico Ryans, who also could be coach of the year. And just what a season Cleveland has had. Of course, you had all the crap coming into this offseason. Deshaun Watson gets hurt. The rest of your quarterbacks get hurt. Injuries abound. Nick Chubb, your defense, everybody's getting injured. And yet, you still not only almost win the division, you punch your ticket into the postseason with Joe frickin' Flacco. Ooh, I like that. And honestly, in the AFC, I don't think there's a single team that wants to play the Cleveland Browns. Of course, there's that history with the Texans after the Texans traded Deshaun Watson to the Browns. And I imagine that Stefanski might be telling Deshaun Watson, stay home for this one.
You know, and I'm not judging you, but I'm just saying everybody else is gonna.
I don't think he'd be welcome too much in Houston. But legitimately, the Browns are a really damn good football team. Joe Flacco has been playing really well, to the surprise of a lot of people, especially the Jets, and their defense is one of, if not the best in football. And so any team that they play against is gonna have a hard time moving the ball. And of course, if Joe Flacco keeps on slinging it, you know that they can score points. And so right now, they're sitting at number 3. The only reason they're not at number 2 is because I think the number 2 team just has a better spot because of the conference that they're in. And so the Browns, they win 3. They're going to the Super Bowl. And let's just see if they can make it there. Number 2, you got the San Francisco 49ers losing against the LA Rams, and I don't think they give a flying crap. And for San Francisco, wait a minute. They lost against the Rams. Did they do it intentionally? Just so they could potentially play the Packers in the playoffs again?
I was acting. Or was I?
I'm on to you, San Fran. But the 49ers have had a phenomenal season. Of course, they were considered the best team in football until they met the Baltimore Ravens. And the 49ers right now are in a perfect spot. They're the number 1 seed. They clinched home field advantage. Whoever they wind up playing is coming to them. And on top of that, they had their starters resting. Christian McCaffrey, who was a bit banged up, he gets an extra week of rest. And the 49ers are far and away the best team in the NFC. Now, that's not to say they're unbeatable, because there are definitely teams that can take them down, but they're going to have to do it in Santa Clara, which is going to be difficult in of itself. And on top of that, that is a very balanced football team that you are going to be facing against. And Brock Purdy, he was in there for MVP for a while. CMC potentially still could be MVP. And yeah, whether it's their offense or defense, the 49ers are a damn good football team. And whoever's going to be playing them in the divisional round, you better come ready. And number 1, no surprise here, you got the Baltimore Ravens. And I just want to say, the Ravens, the 49ers, both the 1 seed, and they were very kind to Johnny and I during 30 and 30.
Coincidence? I think not!
I'm just saying, teams. I'm just saying. But the Ravens, they are the best team in football. Their defense is nasty. Lamar Jackson is having an MVP-like season. The offense can move the ball at will. Look at that when they finally got some wide receivers. They do well. Who would have known? Everyone. But the Ravens are so damn good. And any team going into Baltimore, it is going to be a tough environment to play. You are going up against the most balanced team in football. And right now, unless they play another AFC North team, I think it's the Ravens' opportunity to lose to go to the Super Bowl. They've proven that they can hang with anybody, and unless they wind up playing the Browns or the Steelers, I think they're going to have a relatively easy path to the Super Bowl. And yeah, good luck to any team that's going to try and stop them, because right now, besides the AFC North, the only ones that are going to beat the Ravens are themselves. And so just to recap, at number 1, you got the Ravens. 2, you got the 49ers. 3 Browns. 4 Cowboys. 5 Bills. 6 Lions. 7 Rams. 8 Texans. 9 Chiefs. 10 Dolphins, 11 Buccaneers, 12 Packers, 13 Eagles, 14 Steelers, and a partridge in a pear tree. But of course, let me know what you think down in the comments below. How do you think these rankings should shake out? And folks, it's going to be a hell of a weekend. Buckle up. We're going to have some fun. You guys find me at Tom Grossi Comedy, all social media see down below. A big shout and thank you to all the patrons and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.